Well, the weekend has begun. So, for today, we're going to keep things to a minimal. So, we're going to be focusing, as you know, with Stardom in Osaka that took place back on Friday on the 11th of October. And then, of course, with the big pay per view with All Elite Wrestling, AEW with WrestleDream. So, we have tons of matches taking place, not only title matches and special matches, but of course, as you know, people talk about the main event being the possible last match of Bryan Danielson. So we will get through all of that from A to Z. And then, of course, we cap up our episode with a very small news update to give you guys an update on what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of pro wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world. Pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, it could either be on the next episode or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions are set aside, so beam me up, Scotty. So let's begin with our first review, and this one is from Stardom. Okay, Stardom, the recent event that took place back on Friday, October 11th. Um, it opened up with tag team action. We have the members of EXV, Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama, taking on star members Momo Kogo and Mayu Iwatani. Now, of course, we all know how Hanako has changed a lot, has evolved as well, with adding a new uh, arsenal in her playbook, which is I forgot the submission name, but it was taught to her by Shinsuke Nakamura. Waka and Hanako has been on a roll. As you know, they've been aiming for the tag team titles, or more specifically, the New Blood tag team titles. But however, they had the contempt with the Peach and, of course, the icon Mayu Iwatani. Of course, Waka decided to grab her tail and then use it. But however, as always, Hanako proven that her technique has been very effective, and she did that on Momo Kogo, and she had no other choice but to tap, winning the match. However, of course, they talk about they are aiming for the New Blood tag team titles. I'm sure Rina and Azusa are paying attention, or they're not too concerned due to the fact they're hate. But not to mention, they are now giving themselves the tag name known as Rice or Bread. So that's their tag name, Rice or Bread. That's kind of weird, but yeah. So that's their name. Our next match we have, of course, is a three-way a match, we have Rian, Raka, and Hana. So of course there was going to be moments where Raka will try to step aside because Hate, as you know, they're very calculated. They're always trying to ensure they find ways to walk away as the victor. But that wasn't the case on this one in some capacity. But it was Hanan that picked up the win onto Rian with the Hanan special, and just like that, it was completely over. Our next match, speaking of Hate, we have Saya Kamitani, Momo Watanabe, and Natsuko Tora taking on God's Eye members Rana Yagami, Lady C, and Shuri. Now, of course, as always, when it comes to Hate, they will try to, in fact, um, do shortcuts, try to cheat their way through by using weapons, distracting referee. Of course, you got Raka on the outside trying to ensure that this match goes in their favor. But however, it was Natsuko Tora with the Death Valley driver onto Yagami that allowed her and her team to pick up the win. Now, our next match, we have star members consistent of Sayaida, Koguma, and Azuki taking on the members of EXV, Zena, Mina Shirakawa, and Maika. Now, of course, we have seen things between Maika and Azuki, and of course Koguma. As you know, all three of them are from Fukuoka. They're from the same area, and then that's the whole thing with them. But however, none of that was mattered because, of course, we did see Mina Shirakawa, who in fact picked up the win when she applied the Mina collection onto Sayaida that allowed her to pick up the win. Now, our next match is a 10-woman tag match. Team number one, we have the full force of Neo Genesis, featuring our newly crowned future champion Miyu Amasaki, Suzuki Azumi, Starlight Kid, and our current high-speed champion Mei Sita taking on Cosmic Angels, consisting of Sayaka Kurara, Yuna Mizumori, Sayuri Anu, Natsupoi, and Tam Nakano. Now, for the record, anybody probably ask yourselves, what was Aya Sakura? Well, Aya Sakura, while Core Stardom was in Osaka, she remained in Tokyo due to the fact that she was participating in a match with Pro Wrestling Wave, teaming up with Aja Kong and I forgot who was the other person. But yeah, so that's why. But nonetheless, this one was a very interesting matchup. Now, those who know this or not, I did not see the preview show that took place last weekend. Well, I kind of missed it anyway. Yuna Mizumori won the number one contendership for the high speed belt. So that basically puts her on the conversation to tell a storyline. As you know, Sadi Anu, Tam, and Natsupo are the current, you know, artist champions, but not to mention Tam and Natsupoi are champions individually. Natsupoi as the white belt champion and Tam as the red belt champ. So now it's like Yuna Mizumori is aiming for the belt that she's going to aim for, and that is the high speed belt. And it was her who picked up the win when she defeated Mei Sita. And of course, Mei Sita will not turn this one away, knowing too well she got pinned by her and she's the number one contender. So that match was happening. And of course, we saw a great promo from her, and I think everybody in Cosmic Angels are backing her on this one. So we will see how her progress would go as, you know, the number one contender for the high speed belt. So we'll see where we lead from there. So I think that's pretty much it with Stardom. I believe it's time to move on with our last and final review, AEW WrestleDream. Okay, um, AEW WrestleDream in Tacoma, Washington. Now, let's begin with the 0 hour matches. We have, of course, the ROH World Television title. Now, Brian Cage, as you know, has aimed for this belt recently and mentioned some remarks towards Atlantis Jr., saying that he's not the rightful owner of the belt due to the fact that he is from CML. Now, of course, we cannot deny Atlantis Jr. of his talent, and not to mention him being a generational wrestler due to the fact of his father. But however, Brian Cage is determined to prove his worth when he, of course, applied the drill claw onto Atlantis Jr., becoming our brand new uh, Ring of Honor World Television Champion. Now, uh, Alicia Atout conducted an interview with MXM Collection. Now, as you remember, they talked recently that they have a third partner that will be in the corner. Well, it turned out this partner is someone that those who know him very well back in WWE, Rico. Yeah, the very same Rico that tried to do that whole homosexual thingy with Billy Gunn and Chuck Palumbo many years ago. So it was surprising me, but yeah. Now, our next match, we have Harley Quinn versus Anna Jay. Now, Harley Quinn has some remarks to say about Anna Jay, despite the fact that there was no interactions. And of course, she was treating that Anna Jay's time in Japan as like, who cares about it? Whoopie doo. So she thinks it's not a big deal of her going to Japan. Well, it is a big deal. We have seen, I even watched her entirety involved in the 5-star Grand Prix, and she was able to pick up some good matches, and not to mention really good ones he enjoyed. But however, her experience in Japan has paid off when she defeated Harley Cameron with the Gory Bomb, and just like that, she knows her worth. Now, our next match, we have MXM Collection with Rico taking on the Acclaim and Daddy Ass. Now, we have seen how, of course, Max does his raps, but however, uh, Daddy Ass actually did his little own rap, talked about Rico and all that. He's saying that, the whole gay thing, and he told Anthony Bowens, no disrespect. He's like, no problem. So, but the match was good, but it also, as you know, Rico got involved and tried to show why that this whole thing with the claim had the end. But however, uh, Daddy Ass gets involved too and put Rico in the famouser, and of course it did allow for Max Caster to apply the mic drop onto Mansoor, and just like that, it was over. But the question we ask is this thing between them done? That's something I don't know. Now, we did see Mercedes Moné along with Camille making their presence known, and once again, she's acting like she's the boss of everything, and Queen Aminata decided to get intervene. But of course, Mercedes Moné was not having it. So we could see a match showing up. Now, we did see, of course, Tony Khan make his way to the stage area, along with the grandsons of the late Antonio Inoki, the founder of Strong Style and New Japan Pro Wrestling. So it's great to see them being there. The last time we were there, of course, the grandsons were there in AEW once before, so it's great they were there again. Now, our next match, we have a very interesting one. The Outrunners in this particular match teamed up. Well, was supposed to be the FTR, but due to the situation where Hurricane Ellen and or Milton, they had to get new people involved, and that is the conglomeration consistent of Kyle O'Reilly and Orange Cassidy to take on the premier athletes, Nice and Davari, along with Dark Order, Silver, and Reynolds. But however, of course, there were some number games coming from the athletes had Dark Order involving Smart Mark Sterling and of course Uno and Woods. But however, they managed to take care of that as soon as possible. But it was of course a total recall by outlawing the Outrunners onto Davari, and just like that, it was over. And then we see an interview with Renee Paquette and Okada until O'Reilly got into his face. So we could see those two guys in a match at some point, but they were told to leave the building by orders of Christopher Daniels. Now let's jump into our main event. Well, the main card to be exact, if anybody asks. We have Jay White versus Hangman. Now this is an implication in two ways. One, of course, both these men are determined to make their way back into the AEW World Title consistency. However, Jay White has a personal vendetta towards Hangman Page because it was Hangman who put him out of action during the Owen Hart tournament, and that's something I don't think Jay White hasn't forgotten. So it's more like checking off the list on his to-do list on his return, and that's exactly what he did. Hangman Page kind of was hurting himself in the leg, and that kind of cost him a bit. He was intending to do the buckshot lariat, but however, because he messed up, it gave just a little bit of time for Jay White to apply the Blade Runner. And so once he applied the buckshot, and just like that, Blade Runner, 1, 2, 3, we're done. Now, our first title match we have is the AEW Women's World Title. Mariah May defends her belt against Willow Nightingale. As you know, Willow Nightingale has been making her way to this belt for a while now. Many people could maybe say she could be the first person to been the one to hold both the AEW World Title and the TBS. Something that I think many of us would have seen. But however, man, this match was very impressive, and of course, people were cheering on and all that. But unfortunately, it was Mariah May with the Storm Zero that allowed her to retain the belt. Our next match, we have the TNT belt. Katsuyori Shibata faces Jack Perry. Now, the match was crazy, and of course, we know Shibata. You know can take a hit. But however, I think many people felt like it was a load of crap how this match ended with. Of course, Shibata had Jack Perry right where he wanted him. He put him in a chokehold, but however, his shoulders were in the bottom that led to him being pinned. And of course, Shibata tried to reason with the ref that he had him right there, but Jack Perry decided to once again be the scumbag of the earth, tried to wipe out Shibata, but luckily Daniel Garcia showed up. But I wouldn't be surprised if he makes his way to the TNT title. But unfortunately, he had someone from his past just showed up, MJF. So basically, MJF made his way to finally deal with, of course, Daniel Garcia after what happened in All In. But before he proceeded, he brought back his diamond ring that he found in a pawn shop. But unfortunately, he could not finish off Bryan Danielson until Adam Cole reappeared, who has an unfinished business towards MJF. So we'll see what happens from there. Our next match is the AEW International Championship in a three-way match. We have Konosuke Takeshita versus Ricochet versus Will Ospreay. Now, a lot of things have happened. Now, remember, Takeshita attacked Ricochet and Will Ospreay recently in a title match, but however, of course, Don Callis might have been the mastermind behind that. Now, a lot of things have happened. Now, of course, Don Callis was getting involved when things didn't seem like it wasn't going their way. But however, Fletcher showed up, and it turned out he turned his back on Will Ospreay, and just like that, it was over. But it did allow for, of course, Takeshita to pin Will Ospreay to become the brand new AEW International Champion. But however, Fletcher decided to apply the Tiger Driver 91 onto Will Ospreay to break his neck. I'm sure Will Ospreay will be back to get a little payback against Fletcher for betraying him, but we'll see what happens until then. Now, Prince Nana, as you know, has made his way down to welcome back, of course, Swerve Strickland. Now, of course, Swerve had a lot of things to say, but of course, he was interrupted by MVP and along with Shelton Benjamin. Now, of course, remember, MVP is saying that Nana was a failure, that he's questioning him. Why didn't he go after the AEW World Title after losing it? Why did, of course, no one did anything against Hangman Page when his childhood home was being burned? However, MVP was trying to say that he spoke highly of him many years ago. I mean, he kind of did. But however, Swerve was intending to play around with MVP because he refuses to turn his back on Nana because he considered him as family. And of course, Shelton Benjamin did not like that. So we could see a feud coming down its way. So we'll see where this leads us. So we can't wait until Wednesday. Our next match, we have Hologram versus Beast Mortos. Now, these guys, this is not the first time they actually face each other, but they have run in. However, this match was very brutal in some capacity, but it was Hologram who walked away with the win, making him 15-0 on his record. So that's pretty cool to see it. Now, our next match, Darby Allin versus Brody King. Now, remember, Darby Allin has picked up wins against them, but not in a traditional way. The traditional way I was referring to is with the pinfall. So that kind of put Darby Allin, how do I say, in a position where he has to rectify those matches that he was unable to defeat Brody King before. But, however, Brody King, he was determined to break him in half no matter what. But, however, um, Brody King was outside the ring during the 10 count, but Darby Allin lied and waited until he was able to apply the coffin drop on the back of Brody King, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, we are done from there. Now our next match is the AEW World Tag Team titles. The Bucks defend their belts against Private Party. Now, of course, Top Flight, along with Action Andretti, Layla Gray, and Leo Rush were watching this, of course. This could have been a match with the Top Flight, but thanks to Action Andretti's getting involved was the problem. However, Stokely Hathaway was also watching this. And man, the match was unbelievable good. I think many people would have assumed from this match that Private Party will finally do the unthinkable to dethrone them. But however, the Bucks have their issues towards the Private Party because they haven't forgotten the loss they had against them on the second day of AEW Dynamite, and that always haunted them. But however, they were able to apply the TK driver onto Isaiah Cassidy in order to retain the belts. But however, Isaiah felt so disappointed, so devastated he lost, and many fans have given Private Party a standing ovation. But of course, we cannot say this is the end for them. We know they can do it. All they do is need to find the right moment that fits them. Now, our next match is the ROH World Championship. Jericho, who's determined to call himself now El Nueve, decides to take on Mark Briscoe. Now, this thing between Mark Briscoe and Jericho went personal because Jericho told Mark that he will never be good as his brother. And of course, that's like going below the belt for him. And of course, it's telling him to keep my brother's name out of your mouth, that sort of thing. But of course, Brian Keith tried to get involved. But luckily, thank God for Rocky Romero, who took matters in his own hands, showed up to deal with him. And of course, Jericho thought he had this match won he tried to finish him off with the Judas effect. He didn't pin him, so he decided to do the one thing that I'm sure will piss off Mark Briscoe, was in fact using the J Driller, which is a move that was used by his late brother Jay Briscoe. However, it did work on him, but it did not keep them down. However, it was, of course, Mark Briscoe with the J Driller that allowed him to retain the belt. So, just like that, it was done. Now, our main event, the AEW World Championship, Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson. This match was bloody murder. Jon Moxley was determined to dethrone Bryan Danielson in order to, of course, saying, I'm here to save AEW because of the shell of itself. So he thinks that he's some sort of savior in some capacity. He did everything possible to break Bryan Danielson, but unfortunately, it was a chokehold that allowed him to defeat Moxley to defeat Bryan Danielson once and for all. And then, of course, Claudio, Pac, and Marina showed up, and then Wheeler Yuta along with Darby Allin showed up, but unfortunately Wheeler Yuta turned on Bryan Danielson by attacking Darby Allin, and then of course putting a bag over, of course, on Bryan Danielson. And then of course Private Party, Jeff Jarrett tried to help, and then they tried to break Bryan Danielson in half. And of course, the entire locker room showed up to help Bryan Danielson, but it was just too late. But the one person who was affected the most was Bryan Danielson, who couldn't save him. So now people are saying that this is time for for Darby Allin to step up to become the hero. Now remember, Jon Moxley did stated that he doesn't think that Darby Allin is ready to become the face. But we'll see what happens until then. But I think that's pretty much it we have with everything. Let's just jump into our news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's talk about two two upcoming events from two different promotions. On October 23rd, a very interesting development has come around with All Japan Pro Wrestling. They will be having an event taking place in Shinkiba on the 23rd of October. But what makes this one special, it turns out it's going to be a six-man tag team match, and two of the wrestlers that have been announced to be participating are in fact Hanako and Aya Sakura from Stardom. Yes, so they will be teaming up, whoever's going to be there. Um, I'll get to one of the opponents in a bit. Our second update on the upcoming events. Um, West Coast Pro announced for their upcoming event on January 10th. For Only the Strong Survive, Masato Tanaka makes his return. Now for our developments, Fightful Select reports from Kota Ibushi saying that Kenny will be making his return within 2 or 3 months. Now it's still unclear what the situation is going to be like. I'm sure Kota is going to help Kenny to get revenge on the Bucks for what they did to Kenny, so we'll see to that. Now, in relations to the All Japan event taking place on the 23rd of October, Evolution's very own Chi-Chi has declared war against Stardom. And this is what was said towards about that. Let me pull it up real quick. Yes, she told this to, I believe, Tokyo Sports, that, she hated Stardom ever since she was losing to Miyu Misaki at the New Blood, and her goal is to snatch away Stardom fans. Now, we do know that the Ishikawa and Suwama, both Chi-Chi's mentors, talked about declaring war against them, tried to gain popularity. So, of course, Chi-Chi hasn't forgotten the loss she had against Miyu Misaki. I'm sure she will love nothing more the challenger for that belt. That is something that I could definitely see. But trying to snatch the fans away, that's going to be a little difficult. But we'll see what happens until then. But for now, this is all of our news updates and all the reviews. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, I haven't decided yet what's going to happen, but as we speak, we did have, of course, another Stardom event. I haven't decided what else is going to happen. We know there were some Mighty Gold events taking place. I haven't decided what else, so we'll see how things will go on. I think we're expecting another Choco Pro event, so just keep your fingers crossed and see how we go from there. But for now, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.